And I'll keep an eye on my email, just to make sure that nobody's having a problem.
Cool.
Okay. Oh, period. Are we ready? Okay. I am going to call this meeting of the Accessibility Commission to order at 6 p.m. on Thursday, February 22nd. Let me pull up my agenda again. So I just wanted to say welcome to everybody who is here joining us today. I don't have an announcement that I think of. Did I have an announcement, Jasmine? Or we just put it there because, okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. So our first order of business is to approve the minutes. We have the minutes from both November and January to approve. Before I call for a motion to approve, I do have a small edit for the November minutes. I was not in attendance. So once that has been
You're present and absent at the same time. So yeah. I guess we negate each other. So it's all good.
I just cloned myself for that meeting. I was invisible in the meeting and then I was at home with COVID at the same time.
Awesome. Love how that happened.
Okay. So with that edit, do I have a motion to approve the November meeting minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I have a motion from Mara and second from JD. So all in favor, either say verbally or visually that you agree. Great. I will abstain from that one since I was not there. And then do I have a motion to approve the minutes from January?
Yes.
So moved.
So Fawn moved and Mara seconded. All those in favor, please visually or verbally let me know. Okay, we have approved our minutes for November and January. Thank you so much. I am going to call for public comment. I don't see anybody joining us today, but I do actually have public comment that came to me via email. So I'm going to read that. Peggy Coyne, who is one of our regular guests, sent me an email that she had put in a request to the reporting website for DPW. And so this is what she wrote. She said, during the last snowstorm, it was very apparent that our sidewalks are not cleared, even on main streets leading to town, such as Hobart Street. I also noted snow and ice covered areas downtown near the square and next to accessible curb cuts. In addition, many of the accessible curb cuts at various locations throughout the town are blocked at intersections where the snowplows have plowed the street and left a bank of snow along the side. I read in the Salem News this morning that Peabody is proposing a citywide ordinance for clearing all sidewalks. I believe that Danvers should adopt such a measure to ensure our streets are accessible to all, those in wheelchairs, the elderly, those who use canes and strollers, etc. Thank you for listening. And she also wanted to share the response that she received from DPW. They said, this was from Cheryl Stanford of DPW, said, we received your message below and wanted to provide you with some information on the snow and ice operations in the town of Danvers. Our DPW crews and contractors are responsible for treating and plowing the roadways in Danvers. We also provide sidewalk clearance for pedestrian traffic within a 2-mile radius to our public schools, and the downtown area is included on one side of the sidewalk routes. All other sidewalks in town, whether commercial or residential, are the responsibility of the property owner to clear, and we rely on the businesses and property owners to maintain safe pedestrian traffic in front of their homes or business. The last snowfall was just under the amount of snowfall that we utilized the resources to plow sidewalks. Our staff monitors the accumulation and forecast to make that determination every snow event. We appreciate residents' feedback if there are issues that snow removal and plowing may have caused. Well, that didn't seem complete. After each event, our street division is always happy to investigate concerns and intersections that may be affected by residual snow buildup to assure that access and visibility is maintained. Please reach out to DPW office and left phone number and email. So I just wanted to share that with everybody and then see if there was any comment from the commission on this.
Can I ask what do we think it means
to have PBD pass an ordinance? My understanding is that there is already in place here in Danvers the ability to ticket homeowners, for example, if they do not clear the sidewalks in front of their house, but I'm not sure if that's accurate information, and I'm not aware if it is that that's often, if at all, used.
I actually don't think that that's true. So I don't think that, I think it is the way it's a policy that it is the responsibility of the property owner, but that there's no consequence if they do not.
And I guess they said they plow one side of downtown, the sidewalks. Well, doesn't that restrict travel for someone? I mean, that's absurd to me. I mean, that doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure you can get yourself to that side that's plowed and accessible. I mean, if they're doing one side, why can't they just do both sides?
I'm not sure. I live near the high school and they only do one sidewalk for the kids. They don't do both.
I wonder if that's like staffing, or maybe they're understaffed, or
I'm sure it's a cost issue. I don't know if that's like a standard policy to only do one side. I know that like when it comes to school, the walkers, they only do one side of the road.
But it seems a little weird downtown though, that because what if you know what I mean? Like, how could you not do one and not the other? Because
there's businesses there too that people are trying to get through. I guess they're trying to put the onus on the business owner, but
but that's also strange because they're only putting the onus on the business owners on one side of the street.
Right.
Right.
Point well taken.
The other side is just expected to have they're thrilled because theirs gets plowed, and then I wonder if they alternate.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I don't know. Lauren, do they seem to on the way to the high school? Or do they always do the same side?
No, I think it's always our side. That's why when you said you have to have your sidewalks plowed, I'm like, no, I don't know, because that little thing comes by and does the sidewalks, after a snowstorm for the school. So I think it's always been on this side. I don't know why, because they have to cross the street at the end to get to the high school, but.
Yeah, maybe it's like less like damaged sidewalks on that side, so it's easier for them to plow it or something.
Yeah.
So I've got some big like.
But then that goes back to an accessibility issue. If the sidewalks are so damaged, then what happens when there's no snow?
Yeah, I don't even really ride on the sidewalks near me because they're pretty banged up from like tree roots and stuff like that. So I mostly am in the street, and it's like Cabot Road. People can rip down that sometimes.
Yeah. My son finds the same thing. He can't walk. It's too hard on the sidewalk. It's too bumpy, and it just throws him all over the place. So
same, yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't have answers to your questions. Yes. However, if we'd like to compile some of these questions, I am happy to follow up with DPW internally about some of the policies and see what answers we can get from that.
I think that would be great. I also was just making a note that we could invite them to a meeting so that we could understand kind of where policy and ordinance fit, and what they do in general, and what the expectation is.
Better.
I'd
like to know. Yeah.
I was going to say maybe that's a better place to start. So it's sort of an open dialogue versus just going back with all our questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to put them on the defensive. We don't want to be accusatory.
Because I also think, if we as a commission understand what the town responsibility and policies are, then when people come to us with stuff like this, we can also then have that information and answer them as well.
If the policy just no longer seems feasible or makes sense, then we can sort of collaborate with them to help change that policy.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I have this saved as a document. Jasmine, I will send you a copy of this. I don't know if it should go with our minutes, probably. I don't know.
It's up to you all.
Public comment. or at least we just have it on file for future reference. Okay. Any other comments about the comment?
No, I think that wrapped it up for me, at least.
Okay. Okay. So next, town department guest. Obviously don't.
So I was
yes.
hoping to have us be joined by our building inspector,
Yeah.
but I knew that his attendance was tentative, so it looks like he was unable to make it, but I will circle back with him once he's fully back in office.
That makes sense. No problem. Okay, so we're just gonna speed right through. We are like way ahead of the game. So public forum planning.
Oh,
yes, please.
I'm sorry, Chrissy.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Can we add the DPW maybe to the month after the building inspector, if they can make it work?
Yep, so I made a note of it, and what I can do is, because we have our forums coming up for the next couple months, I can touch base to see if we maybe want to do one at a time so that we're keeping those segments before the public forum brief. I can figure that out, the scheduling. I'll check to see what works best for their schedules.
Thank you.
Yeah. Honestly, it would probably be great to have DPW at the March one if possible, but
yes. So I mean,
just to have somebody
I was gonna bring
observing.
that up. I was gonna bring that up in our next agenda item, but what I'm intending to do is put a call out. I just need to craft the email, but to put it to different department heads with like targeted promotion to let them know, because the purpose would be that they can attend to also listen, and clarifying that the expectation would not be to have them come to be answering questions for the public or anything like that.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's very helpful. Okay. So then with that, talking about the public forum planning. So for March, we have JD. I'm assuming you would like to share your story, but I wanted to confirm whether or not you would want to be on the panel for sharing about moving around Danvers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have JD, we have Chris Slavin, who lives downtown. She uses a wheelchair and has a guide dog. And then Lauren's son, Nick. And actually, Lauren, can you at some point send me Nick's email address so I can make sure he has the link? Sure. And I'll send the questions and everything. Okay. Yep. And then Jasmine was one of the things I wanted to make sure we were doing is to have kind of a wide variety of experiences. And so I also was hoping to find somebody either who uses a cane or a walker or has other kind of movement accessibility challenges, either through transportation or physical ability. Jasmine, you were going to meet with Allison.
Yes. So I saw Allison this morning, and I gave her a flyer. She prefers phone to email, so I gave her your number separately. Okay. And she's a senior in the community who's very engaged. She comes to all the things. She's fantastic. She's a local treasure. She will be putting it up in her building, and she's hoping to talk to a couple people to see if it works. So at the very least, I anticipate her attendance, even if she can't find someone for this panel. Great. I had also contacted with permission from leadership David Mills. I don't believe I heard back from him. But those were the two leads that I was hoping to follow to recruit some people. I believe the post went up today for this on socials, or on social media. So you also can share freely among your networks as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I know that it takes a lot of moving parts to get stuff posted. So I appreciate that. Okay. One thing we also need to firm up our community agreements for the sessions. Are you all comfortable using the ones that we used for our trainings? Yep. Okay. Yeah. Jasmine, does that work for you? Okay. And for the most part, I mean, especially the virtual ones, because they're going to be moderated. I'm not anticipating it being problematic, but if we start off with agreements, that always helps set the stage for kind of what experience we are expecting. And then so for April, I have to confirm, but Jody, and then I have a possible lead on somebody who has an invisible disability to participate. And then I'm hoping to get at least one other person. So if anybody knows somebody who either is autistic and or has invisible disabilities and would be willing to participate in that forum, please let me know. And then for May, I have a potential I think she's second grader, who has profound hearing loss, to share her experiences in school, both in Danvers and then out in a new placement. My 14-year-old has said she will participate and share her experiences. What I think might happen is that she might write up what she wants to say, and if in the moment she's not able to speak, I will read it for her. And then if anybody knows, I would really love to be able to find again a wide variety of experiences. So if you know anybody who can speak to the disability experience in the schools, please let me know. I have a couple other leads, but nobody like confirmed. We have a bit more time there, and again, the location on that one isn't confirmed yet because we haven't had a chance to meet with the superintendent yet. Which, by the way, JD, it's been rescheduled for March 1st, and I will send you the time. And yeah,
cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Christy, you
yes.
want? I'm sorry, disability experience in the Danvers schools.
Well, it is specific to Danvers, yeah.
Okay.
So that, yeah, if you know anybody who is or has been in Danvers schools fairly recently, that would, yeah.
You want an actual student, like student who's participated in those schools with a disability versus sort of a parent who had to experience.
That would be my preference.
Okay.
I know but I mean, we have, that's part of why I was hesitating. I'm like, I have other leads, because it's easier to find parents who can share their child's experience.
Yeah.
My preference would be for students to be able to speak up for themselves. That's not always possible. I mean, definitely, especially students who either use excessive, communication devices or don't use verbal language. So I just want to make sure we don't have just parents talking about their students' experiences. So I think one would be fine if we are balancing it out with students who are sharing their own experience.
Yeah, I can ask around. Is it going to be accessible? So will it be? Oh my God! I just
virtual or so the plan was hoping to have it in a school.
That was
interpreted. We can make sure it we could,
because I think if you're talking about profound hearing loss,
yes,
and that type of thing, it would be shame on us if it wasn't interpreted.
That was a question that I had asked Christy as well. So I'll have to look into once we have an identified location. I'll try to look into options for that. A backup might be if we can't get an interpreter, perhaps we can rig something up so that there's a screen, like maybe there's a hybrid option that like can capture captions. With live captions, so we can at least see the words. Because I'm realizing even as I'm doing this that I put live captions on my teams, but it's independent. So each of us would have to go into our teams and put that setting on, which I, again, realized just now.
That's not, I mean, we're working a lot internally around accessibility, and that's probably the least favorite that our deaf folks like.
The captions?
The live captions.
Because it's really hard to read and keep up.
Yeah.
That's great feedback.
And it's not their first language.
Right.
You know, for our folks, ASL is their language. So it's like double. So it's just something to keep in mind.
I do have a lead for, I know somebody who is an interpreter. And if she isn't available, she works with in an organization that has other ones. And I know that if an event is under 2 hours, we can have one interpreter. If it's going to be 2 hours or more, we need two. And I think the price was not. It was not. I mean, it was not so terrible because we were going to actually hire an interpreter for the library social justice book club when we did True Biz as the book. Yeah. But then we ended up we had it as a possibility for if anybody needed it as an accommodation, and they didn't end up needing it. But yeah, so I mean, I would even be willing to do the hiring and paying if that's a
we can pay for that out of my budget.
Okay.
I appreciate that sentiment, but yeah.
So I can reach out to Jamie and ask her preferred, because I forget what the organization is that she works for. I think it is through the state, and we can put in a request for that date and time once we have a location.
Commission for Deaf and Hard of Hearing.
Yeah.
Yes, and I believe 2 hours would probably be the maximum time frame for this event anyway.
Yeah.
One question I did have, Mara, for you, do you know of any assistive tech when it comes to deaf and hard of hearing? I'm not sure if that's a possibility, because I know that you also have a lending library.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that exists.
I have it on my list, and I will ask. I'm not in the office tomorrow, but I will reach out either by email, or I'll talk on Monday to the folks that head up that program. Absolutely.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. I do believe that that's one of the things that the library was getting with their grant.
I remember that being spoken about. I don't know where they are in their timeline for that.
Yep, it's on my list. Okay. As well as I can also ask about the invisible, someone with an invisible disability, autism, who might be able to participate in the April forum.
Awesome, thank you.
Any particular age?
No.
Okay.
No, can be any age.
And it's more about their experience in living in the community?
Yeah,
Okay.
So the questions that we have are, so specific to tonight's topic so that would be invisible disabilities and autism. What is the most important thing you would like to share with the Danvers community? What are the biggest obstacles you face in your day-to-day life? And what do you need from town employees and citizens to feel supported? Okay. Which I still sending these written on my hand to send them after this meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Because then I can ask key people where I work who they might recommend. Yeah,
and we're not asking for giving a big speech or a dissertation, but really just a few minutes of however much information somebody's comfortable sharing. Okay. Jasmine, am I remembering everything we talked about? I think that's
everything.
Okay.
I think that you and I talked about, but I do have one more thing.
Yes, please.
And excuse me, because I'm typing minutes and thinking.
Yeah.
One of the things that Brian, our planner, had mentioned last time was doing a survey to supplement these forums, which I thought was a really great idea. I did draft one that I'm gonna get him to also give me some feedback on, since it was this great idea once he comes back. But I need to continue to research what other surveys and things look like. My starting place to draft it was just thinking about what information I would want or I think would benefit our community. But I wanted to at least check in with all of you while I have you, if there is any particular data that you would be hoping to acquire from a survey that went out with these forums.
So something that I think would be really useful to us and also to the rest of, to town employees and elected officials is whether or not people go outside of Danvers to get services and support and resources, and if so, what are they?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Which I'm guessing is the answer is yes, because, you know, Danvers doesn't obviously can't have everything, but, you know, if we get some answers that are like, well, I go to this book club or I go to this support group, or, you know, there may be resources that people are going outside of Danvers to get that exist here. And so therefore we would know that it's a communication sharing of information challenge, or it may be a service or resource that we could help support to get established in Danvers.
And are the forums taking the place of our monthly meeting?
So we are going to have a very, very short meeting. Yes, they're at the same time. Yes. Sure. Yeah. We're going to have a very, very short meeting so that we are abiding by our tenets of having meetings, and then move into the forums.
Okay. And I'm sorry if this was already discussed. I ran cramps.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah. So we will adjourn so that the public forum isn't part of the, like, we don't have to keep minutes on it. And then also, sorry, my cat is trying to like destroy my door. She's very unhappy that I don't have her in here right now. That way also we don't have to have it live streamed. So, oh yes,
Jasmine. That was the other one.
That was
about live streaming.
Yeah.
So one of the other questions that we had discussed was this idea of a live stream. We, you know, having the hybrid model is good because it speaks to different, obviously, like physical needs. I mean, any other needs. And when it comes to the live streaming component, which, you know, right now DCAT is live streaming this because it's a public meeting. For the forums where people are sharing their experiences, we were kind of on the fence about whether or not that portion could be live streamed. The pros being that more, and DCAT, we can discuss this too offline, but the pros being obviously that it can reach a broader audience, perhaps. But the cons being, we know some people, you know, the idea of being recorded and, you know, online and all of that can kind of prevent some people from sharing or engaging vulnerably. So we wanted to get a consensus from the group.
I'm sorry, but I also think of it from sort of a HIPAA standpoint. That, you know, if someone's kind enough to sort of disclose to a group like us by live streaming it, that means it's out there to who knows how many people. And I just worry the abuse of that information.
It sounds like we were erring more on the side of not doing that anyway. Are there any points about why we potentially should?
I think it would be great to somehow preserve these people who are sharing with us the information that they're sharing. And I think, yes, of course, it'll be in the minutes and written down, but it's always so meaningful to have it coming from the original source. I wonder if there's a way to have their permission to record it in video, but not know yet how it's going to be used, and then say we would get their permission before we used it, or I don't know.
My thinking, I along the same lines, Fawn, is I would love for us to be able to record the sessions so that we could share them with people in town who have the ability to make change. So, you know, again, it's town officials and elected officials, town employees, but without having it just be posted on the internet for anybody to watch. And so I wonder if, you know, for the sessions that are virtual and are recordable like that, could we record them and either have them be a link that is not completely public, or have it just be a recording that we share with town departments that are like related to the topic at hand.
Yeah, it might just be easier to have each person, if they want, they can choose to consent, and then we just record each one individually. So like we could have maybe a camera set up and and they could, say, I'm okay with this testimonial being used for, further purposes by the Accessibility Commission, and then we just hit record on it, or have DCAT hit record. But that wouldn't necessarily be broadcast. That would just, like you were saying, preserve it. So would then utilize it.
So I think maybe Christy and I can meet with DCAT between now and what we're trying to do, because I'm seeing them giving some input in the chat. They could record the whole thing and not live stream it. They could cut out parts that won't be used. So maybe we meet with them separately and discuss some more of the options. I'm thinking that they also have, there's also other ways. Like if we don't want to live stream the whole thing, then maybe it's an independent segment with DCAT, and that could be before or after, right, to be used as publicity and promotion for the next ones, and it's already people who are agreeing to it. Maybe it's that the panel is recorded and more open-ended, but once it gets into the public, who were maybe not prepared to speak or not formally recognized on the panel, that part is kept more private. I think there's a lot of options, and I think Mara's mentioning of HIPAA is definitely now very much on my radar too.
Yeah. DCAT, I don't know who we have today, but I saw your hand. Did you want to speak? Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate your comment in the chat. That's helpful. And we really are grateful for all that you do for us. So, I think I like the idea of having segments, or being able to take parts of it, and whoever says yes to being recorded, but without it being a full live stream.
Right, and that way we can also reassure them that there's control over who it's shared with and how it's used.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Just as another alternative, there is a way that we could just have people send testimonials to us that they've recorded in the privacy of their own home on their phone, or something.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
Could be just an option in general if we are looking for, video testimonial to back up something we're trying to get, the real done.
That actually we could do that in conjunction with what we're doing too. So if there are people who want to share something and aren't able to attend for whatever reason. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
That definitely sounds like a kind of separate project, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
I think that could be a really nice, because again, we've described that this is supposed to be a listening opportunity, and there's not really an ask or anything like that involved with this. Mm-hmm. However, if used as a platform for what JD is talking about, of our first step is just getting people into the space and starting to share our stories. If you're interested in taking these opportunities to the next level of advocacy, we would like to collect testimonials to compile into a DCAT show, or that DCAT's going to help us edit to give to people in positions of authority in the community. I think that could be a nice way of kind of I'm big on scaffolding, but of scaffolding action. So we're not taking everything on at the beginning, all at once.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm writing down stuff too. Okay. Anything else in the public forum kind of realm? Either thoughts, concerns?
I know you had given me one question, but were there any other questions that came up? I don't know how we got here, but it was helpful. It was a good conversation. But any other data or information that we would want to get from community members?
Thank you.
Some of the survey things that I was thinking about are kind of using the scale, like the Likert scale, you know, and making statements around physical accessibility, accommodations for people with disabilities, and experiences in the community. So it's asking people if they agree, or they like, you know, strongly agree to strongly disagree, or even I don't know. And there are statements like, you know, Danvers Town Hall is physically accessible to everyone. And it asks about town hall, specifically commercial properties, residential properties. And I put like pedestrian pathways
Schools.
as well. I wasn't sure. Oh, I wasn't sure about the schools because that's like because of the relationship where they're still their own separate entity.
Yeah. Okay.
But it does affect people's satisfaction within the community. You know, our goal is to retain residents, and if they're finding that the schools aren't meeting their needs from an accessibility, they might go elsewhere.
Well, or you could change it to not just town hall, but town buildings.
Right.
Yeah, like the rail trail too. I mean, you said
Mhm.
town. That's good. Like Endicott Park.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful.
Okay.
I will definitely share a draft of it with you before it goes out, like in the events, like during the forums.
Yeah, because reading through it might spark some other
Yeah.
questions.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Surveys are tough because you don't want to, you know, people get tired after a while.
Survey fatigue is a
Right.
real thing. But yeah, I think that there's potential to get some really good data about how things are going. So thank you for that. I will just also kind of put a call out. So to just share widely with your network and your friends and people you know about the public forums. This is our it's not the only opportunity we're ever going to have, but one of the opportunities we have to help get the word out about the commission, and then to also gather insight about how things are in Danvers. So
if we have all the kind of info and details on that, I could easily whip up like a little like digital flyer or something to make it easier to spread the word. I don't know if that's useful to us or helpful.
I was going to make that request because I think it's easier just to get it out that
we
way.
have it. Yes, it's already created.
I should have shared that with you. That would have made sense. I will tomorrow morning I will share the flyer.
Okay.
That would be helpful, right? I was waiting for it to go up on town socials before I sent it to you all for your personal distribution. So we can get that to you in the morning.
Sweet.
Yep. Yeah, I made one for MLK Day, and then Jasmine fixed it for social media sharing. So it is available and can be posted places and emailed and shared. And then for what I'm going to do is send email with that flyer plus the link for the meeting and the questions to everybody who's participating, who said that they're going to participate. So so that they have that ahead of time. Okay.
And we'll have that too.
The question, the list.
Yeah, we could. It would be great because then when I sort of try to identify people, if I know what they're asked, what their role is.
So I can't email all of you.
Right.
But I can. But Jasmine, when you share the flyer, can you share the questions and I can. So I'm gonna, after the end of this, I'll send you the questions and who I already have lined up, and you can share that with the. It's lovely that the information can come one way, but we can't have a conversation in the email. So, okay, but I agree. Letting you all have that info is very helpful. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we do have on the agenda a human library update. And Fawn, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you wanted to share where things are, and it can be fine if it's like we're pausing right now and then moving on later. So whatever you want to share.
I'm happy to share the very little that I have done since we last met. I did reach out to Jasmine. She immediately sent me a lot of great ideas for resources to reach out to regarding grant cycles. I emailed all of them, heard back from most, and then reached out to Christy and got some good feedback. And I think that the responses completely overwhelmed me.
No one said why was
I know nothing about grants. The people who wrote back were incredibly helpful. I think I need more education about how to go about communicating and the right order in which to do these things. So I definitely think there's money out there, just from the little that people were willing to share with me with my sort of thrown together email that I tried to really think through, but I think it was very, very sort of naively written. But at any rate, I would love to take the next step. And I think for me, the next step might be what you and I had talked about, Christy, maybe sitting down and trying to look at each of the individual sources, figure out how I can communicate in a very clear way and the right way to do it.
Yeah. And this doesn't all have to sit on you either. So I think that what we can do is kind of like having the list of possibilities, starting with a few, and we can even divide amongst people on the commission to say, okay, you take on this one, just take on this other, and see.
Do that.
Yeah. And I asked in my organization, and the person I really want to talk to has been out for a few weeks, but I will get back to her. But one of my colleagues mentioned that very often banks, because it's short money we're looking for, would love to be able to do that. And then can just be a sponsor on the event.
Oh, that's a great idea.
There was also, so there's an organization, the initials are ECCF.
Oh, yeah.
And they do
Essex County Community.
Yes, and they do art grants. And when I was explaining to my colleague what we were trying to do, he said, that's public art. You're telling stories, and they are giving up to $5,000, and they love municipalities, and they love to partner. And then this sounds kind of funny, but he said funeral homes love to sponsor because no one ever asks them for money. And again, it's a way to put their name on something.
True.
They're great ideas.
Yeah.
So that's just one. And I saw my colleague today and I said, I need to pick your brain, but she's in the middle of this like very time sensitive grant that we're trying to get. But I will touch base with her next week because she's the one who sort of does all the outreach to on behalf of our agency to foundations, and so she'll have some good ideas too. But I thought those, because we're not looking.
Fantastic.
I mean, it's not a ton of money, so I think like local banks want to do the right thing, you know. So that's another resource for us.
Yeah, I appreciate you reminding me of that, Mara. Fawn, I can send you a list of banks that have donated specifically for human rights and inclusion in the past, as well as a starting point. Because I know there were, I want to say there was maybe like around 3 that, you know, contributed like
North Shore banks
for the last 3 years.
Give out a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like all the banks kind of that I have on my list are similar. It's like one is like Northeast Bank, one is like North Shore Bank, like they all have the same names. So I can send you the handful of those that I have as well.
Okay, great.
They just want their name.
Yeah, and I think that actually also, Fawn, that gets to kind of that part we were talking about too, where of sustainability that a lot of grants are looking for, and so this would, if we use sponsors instead of all grant money, that would mean that we wouldn't have to necessarily have this like long-term plan for a sustainable program, because this really is more of an instance, a single event, rather than we're gonna fund this for 10 years.
Right. And you don't have to report on it, which is also kind of nice too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a sponsorship.
Okay. I have a lot to learn. This sounds great. I really appreciate all the ideas. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for the work that you did. You did amazing work. So thank you.
Christy, remind me to check in with you offline as well about what that means in terms of receiving. Because now I'm like thinking, oh, like we're talking about getting money.
Oh, we don't have
So we'll talk.
Where do we put it?
We will find more. Okay. We'll have more updates in the next conversation about that, the logistics of that.
Okay. Okay, added that to my list. Okay. So next, we talked briefly once before about creating liaisons to other organizations like Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. This came up again. JD and I met with the CPAC leadership, specific to a few issues, but it also got me thinking about CPAC as an organization, so it's the Special Education Parents Advisory Council, as an organization within Danvers, and how they're so very closely aligned to the work that we do and our mission, and how it would be helpful if we had a liaison to CPAC. And so I don't have like a strong opinion about how this would be structured. I do think it's worth having liaisons to both CPAC and Human Rights and Inclusion, but maybe for like on a quarterly basis. So it's rather than attending every single meeting, because then you'd have 2 meetings per month, having it be, once every 3 months to go to the other. I at one point had a list of people who were interested in it. It seemed like everybody. So wanted to put this out there again of like who has the capacity to. I also want to make sure that we're protecting capacity, because we ask a lot of you to like, a lot in as far as like gathering information and thinking outside of commission meetings, but I am cognizant of the fact that everybody has a life. So if you have capacity for this, who would be interested in being a liaison? And do you have a preference?
I think if it's once a quarter, I can throw my hat in the ring.
Yeah, I think I could too. I feel a little out of my depth with the CPAC stuff, just because I don't have any real relevant experience.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay. I can do the CPAC because I used to be on it way back when.
Okay.
So for me, I think my preference would be Human Rights and Inclusion.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. Cool. So Jasmine, do we need to go through anything formal with Human Rights and Inclusion, or do we just send somebody? We never really did like an intro meeting with Human Rights and Inclusion. Like I always intended to like come to the meeting and say, hi, this is who we are. I kind of wonder if like we should do that first.
That's a good question. I've never seen liaison positions created. I think we can get you on the agenda for the March meeting. Okay. Introduce yourself. Ask for it all at once. Like what? Yeah. Like what's the worst that can happen? In the meantime, I will behind the scenes make sure there's no rules being broken. And to see in terms of specifically like creating positions. Certain positions require approval from your appointing body. So I want to double check that when it comes specifically to liaisons, because I'm not sure.
Yeah. Informally, the meetings are open and people can just go. But I would like there to be some sort of formalized like acknowledgement, so that in months that one of you can't attend one of the meetings, that we still can share information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I design us sweatshirts or hoodies that say Danvers Accessibility Commission, so they know we're official when we roll
that would be awesome.
That would be so cool. Were there other groups that came to mind beyond HRIC and CPAC to have liaisons. I don't know if the library board of trustees does that, but
they don't have as much involvement in the day-to-day operations of so they're not doing anything for the operations of the grant. No offense to if anybody's watching this. It's not that the trustees don't do anything. It's just that it's a different kind of structure than other bodies. The one that I was thinking of was zoning, but I don't know how, because I've never been to one of their meetings.
So maybe the starting point for that would be to compile, I mean, because you're right, I remember us having the conversation about kind of splitting up related committee and committee board meetings that we thought it would be helpful to share who you are. Maybe we focus on these 2 liaisons because we already understand those relationships a little better, and then launching in the fall, probably because we'll have our hands full this spring, think about how we want to split up, because even to go to school committee to say we exist, we're working with CPAC, would be really fruitful. So the library board of trustees are 2 that come to mind. We can add zoning to the list, and I can work with my colleagues to get you on those agendas as well.
Okay, cool. And great. Okay. So I'll say for next steps with this, we'll get onto the March HRIC agenda. Do you happen to know that date off the top of your head? I can find it, but. Are you guys?
The 21st.
March 21st. Okay. Okay. So if JD and Mara are available, if you want to join, if not, I am.
I just said I wanted to participate, and I will actually be leaving for Florida that day.
That's okay. That's I'm like, it's kind of like short notice. So, but I can go and we can say this is a thing that we would like to do.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So sorry.
No need to be sorry.
Oh, I can do that. There is a solar eclipse that day. No, I'm just kidding.
Is there really though?
Don't tell me that, because that will come into at 7 p.m. on a Thursday in town hall. I don't want that.
I was like, because I know about the one on April 8th or 9th. I know about that one. Okay. I'm just putting this on my calendar. Okay. So that's the liaison. And so then Jasmine, it's you.
What do I have? All right. So I wanted to thank the members from this commission who did volunteer for the Black Excellence Party. It was just a great time, and it was really nice to see different committees and boards supporting one another. And I know that HRIC members are eager to reciprocate, so I'm excited for those future collaborations. I emailed you this information earlier today, but there are 2 opportunities. One in late February on the 27th is an in-district meeting. The March 3rd one is a statewide meeting. These are housing justice campaign meetings that are coordinated by the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization. And these events are opportunities to address legislators about public housing, affordable rental and homeownership, and reentry from incarceration. So I emailed you those. I also just wanted to note for you all that I did get a phone call with a complaint about limited wheelchair access. The location wasn't specific, but it said to a church on the person shared to a church on Elliott Street. The only church on that street was the Christ the Redeemer Anglican Church. So I intend to follow up with Tim about that and see if there's a way to get in touch with their leadership, just to kind of ask questions and see where they're at on their, understanding of accessibility. I also need to share this flyer with you all, and I will. There is a Danvers collaborating event on March 19th from 4:30 to 6 at the high school. I believe I mentioned this in the past, but Matt Schroeder, who is part of Rotary, has been trying to make this an opportunity to connect local groups and organizations with people who are just volunteering to, or like trying to volunteer to make a difference in our community. There will only be one table like representing the town, like all of the boards and commissions for the town. So I'll be sending them your information, the committee information. However, if you all wanted to attend as well to start connecting just with other people who might be doing similar work and to network that, I think that's a great opportunity to do so. Which is related in that the last piece I wanted to just remind you all about is, even though it's I was about to say, is it still February? Even though it's February, time is escaping us. Because we have these public forums coming up, I also didn't want our first reappointment window to pass by us, which is kind of exciting to think about as we're a year in. Reappointment typically, I would say, happens around May. And so we kind of swear in the new people in June, and then if you all take the summer off, they start officially in the fall. But it's up to you, even if you want the summer months off. My records indicate that we have 2 people up for reappointment. So we'll notify Jody and then Kathleen. So there is space potentially to recruit people and just to continue to raise awareness about what you all do. So I also just wanted to put that on your radars again to kind of normalize that this time of year, because we're expanding rapidly. And just today, someone was like, "I'm so glad this exists," and I was like,
"Oh, that's awesome!"
Yeah, it was wonderful. Someone asked why the name changed from disability to accessibility, and then they really liked the reasons why.
Oh, that's great! Thank you for sharing that. Awesome.
Are there any questions? That was a lot.
No.
It was all good stuff. Okay. So new business. Is there anything that we didn't have on the agenda this month, or that you just remembered, or that you wanted to make sure that we talked about?
Not that I can think of.
I was just going to bring up the meeting we had with CPAC and.
Go ahead. Yes, please, JD. Actually, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I just figured, we had a good meeting with them. It's always a little heartbreaking when you don't have like an immediate answer for people. But we did have a meeting scheduled, like Christy was saying, with the superintendent, but that got rescheduled. And part of what I wanted to bring up in meeting with him, because I know, they do the community service stuff there. Like they have to have a certain amount of community service hours to graduate, I think. And like, I feel like that would be a good resource too for us to tap into if we need some kind of, manpower bodies for something we're working on. So I was thinking of bringing that up to him when we met with him.
Great idea.
And
like the
otherwise,
human life.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, just as like people to help get the tables, chairs, like whatever, And that would be such an easy one for them too.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I mean, the meeting went well. They were very nice. It just feels bad because there's only 2 of them. So it like felt like I wanted to kind of like extend that olive branch of saying like, oh yeah, we should just kind of work.
JD, your mic is not working. Sounds like a plane.
Plane just went overhead.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I could still hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, ultimately it was a good meeting. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add about that, Christy, but
I actually had some more information too, is that there is a third person who has been involved for a while. Yeah, she'd actually reached out to me, Amanda Daniels. She'd reached out to me to ask how to reserve a room at the library for a CPAC event. And I was like, I have questions. Because we just met with CPAC. And so I talked to her a bit about kind of the history and where things are. And they were meeting with the superintendent last week, right before school vacation, the three of them. So Amanda, Susie, and Jen. They so the content of the meeting, like one of it was some concerns about some school committee member comments during a school committee meeting in December, and then also a new movement to put all the special education classes into Smith Elementary School, so that all students who need full special ed services would be at one school. And the concern from CPAC was that there was no parental kind of feedback in that plan. The plan just kind of came down as, this is what we're doing. And since then, I actually have also learned that heard a story of a father whose has two kids at Great Oak, both of whom would be sent to Smith, but only one of whom qualifies for transportation. And so one child he'd have to put on the bus to send to Smith, and then he'd have to drive the other student to Smith each day. And he's solo parenting right now because his wife is in school out of the state, and that the impact of this change can be profound. And so I want us to kind of get more information from the superintendent about, like, where did this come from? Like, what is this set in stone? What are some considerations that are being put in for families?
Right, but what about integration with, I mean, it's like institution. I'm sorry, but that's like where I'm going. So let's just move them all so that they're not integrated with their peers. They don't get to have.
Well, and they're not in their neighborhoods. With their neighborhood, the peers that live down the street, they'd be in a different school from there are a lot of considerations.
Very antiquated. And archaic.
To my giving grace to the school's kind of assumption is that we have a school that has a lot of space,
right?
And that's new, and that is more physically accessible than some of the other schools. So let's move them all there. I think that this decision was made without really thinking about the impact on the students and the families.
Right.
Yeah. So sorry, that was a little bit longer of a overview of what it was, but wanted to make sure you're all up to date.
Well, FYI, I did speak to the father after.
Oh, you did?
The school actually had reached out to them, and it sounded like they were going to try to
good. But I can't imagine that's the only family, right? Mm-hmm. That's having that issue. So, but I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah. Okay. Any other? I mean, JD and I will update you all after we meet with the superintendent, including what his reaction will be to seeing JD in person. Because JD, does everybody else know? Have you mentioned it in the meeting?
I
think you did. Maybe you did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other new business this month? No?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's great to see you all. Thank you so much for attending. And with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Okay. JD motion. I saw Mara as a second. All those in favor, please show indication in favor.
Aye.
Thank you so much. We are adjourning at 7:04 p.m.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Thanks,
And the next time we
everybody.
see you, it is going to be our public forum. So just share widely between now and then.
Okay.
Will do.
Thank you all.
Sounds great.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Have a
Good
good
night.
weekend, everyone.
Yeah, you too.